All right, welcome to part 19 of my series looking at Russ Miller's 50 Facts versus Darwinism in the textbooks. I can't believe the series has gone on so long, but it is coming to an end, I promise. As I did a while back, I want to thank everybody for watching this. I'm amazed. It surprises me. And overall, the overwhelming majority have been nothing but the nicest and most positive comments. In fact, it seems like everybody seems to be enjoying this, except for Russ doesn't like it very much. He's displeased. Surprise, surprise. And one other fuckwit who left some pretty negative comments on my channel page about it. To him, fuck off and die. We are talking about human evolution, so let's get started.
In Spain, they found a small skull cap, and thus was born Orsay man, declared to be the oldest human fossil ever found in Europe. It was later discovered that the skull cap came from a donkey. Is it really that easy to fool evolutionists? Absolutely. Why? Because they don't have any real evidence to fall back upon.
Wait a second, Russ. Are you trying to tell me that horse is a horse?
Of course.
Again, flogging a dead horse. Fact check, Russ. Fact check. Okay? You copied that right out of Dwayne Gish. Right out of Dwayne Gish's The Amazing Story of Creation, which I have. It's a children's book on creation, which is really, it's quite amusing. And he makes the claim that Orsay man was just a donkey. But you know what? Nobody ever found that Orsay man was a donkey. And in fact, to this day, the skull cap remains enigmatic, awaiting further material. I hope you understand how there have been people, one of the big meetings, symposia about it, it was proposed that this could be from an extinct equid, the group that horses belong to. Because when juvenile, the skulls of equids exhibit some of the same suture patterns as a human skull. That's the key, is that it's got very human-like suture patterns. Some have said it's from a human lineage. Some people say it's from an equid lineage. Some people have said it's something else we don't know yet. The site has not revealed any more remains, nor any archaeological information has come out of it. So it's still up in the air. Nobody published a paper saying it's a horse, it's a donkey. Okay. That is a lie that Gish said, and you're just repeating it. It doesn't take a lot to figure that story out. So again, the papers are published. There's a number of papers on it, taking one side or the other, but there's no consensus.
This is Lucy. This has been the messiah for evolution for the past 30 years, even though for about 25 years they've known it's just an ape. It stood about 3.5 feet tall, drug its knuckles on the ground. It had curved toes and curved fingers for grabbing onto tree limbs. Yet they said, well, the thigh bone has to angle to hook up with the knee joint. And since human thigh bones angle, they say that proves it's becoming human. Well, what they didn't point out is almost all tree-dwelling apes had angled femurs. There's no proof of evolution there. And yet this from 20 years ago. Scientists have concluded that these creatures are not a missing link between ape and man and did not walk upright in the human manner. They've known it didn't walk upright for 20 years, yet here's a brand new textbook showing Lucy walking perfectly upright. That's pure propaganda and fraud. It shows Lucy with normal human feet, even though it had curved toes for grabbing onto tree limbs with. Pure propaganda.
You sure like the term messiah of evolution, don't you? It's sort of funny to me. I've gone through this so many times, not just with Russ, but with lots of other creationists. Lucy was never shown to be a knuckle-dragging ape, okay? It's just a load of crap. That's taking a very well done, a very good paper, and then taking that and then extrapolating it further and further away from what the authors actually said. The other thing is after, I'm not going to get into all. It's well established. I don't need to say it. There's a lot of things, a lot of reasons why it wasn't just the thigh bone angled. That's a load of crap. What about the fact that the foramen magnum exits the skull through the bottom of the skull like a biped, not at an angle like a quadruped, like apes have? That's one huge thing that you can't explain away. That's nothing to do with the angle of the femur. Right there, you're just full of crap. The toes weren't curved for grasping branches. The toes had a slightly divergent big toe, more so than in modern humans, but less so than in the living great apes. That's why the Latoli tracks fit Lucy's foot and don't fit any modern human or extinct hominid's foot, with that exception of the Australopithecines. So again, you're wrong. Deliberately so, in this case, I suspect. Because the reality is, the existence of the Australopithecines is a nail in the coffin of creationism. There's an objective look at that leads any intelligent person to go, wow, what is that? You're talking about something approximately chimpanzee-sized, with a brain approximately chimpanzee-sized, that walked on two legs like a modern human, okay? You can say, well, maybe God created a special kind of bipedal ape that, and then whatever, that's fine, you can go on, but it's still, it's a lot easier for you guys to convince your audience that it was just a chimpanzee. It's not true. And by the way, you quote Oxnard from was it Fossils, Teeth, and Sex? He doesn't conclude in there that the Australopithecines were quadrupeds and just apes at all. He says that their bipedality was different in some fundamental ways from modern human. That's what he came up with there. His belief was that Australopithecines were a side branch of the human lineage that couldn't have led to modern man. He has since retracted that position. So you're wrong, and then you're wrong, and then you're really wrong. So, yeah.
Here's the new textbooks. They say, kids, we have recent hominid discoveries. Hominids are supposedly the closest link between ape and man. They say we have Tomei man, the oldest known hominid found, making their finders world-renowned evolutionists.
World-renowned evolutionist, Russ? I wish you were in front of me, because I'd say, name him. Tell me who found that fossil. They're world-renowned, right? Their name's on everybody's lips, right? Dumbass. Actually, the discoverer of that fossil was an undergraduate in Chad named Ahunta Jimdomabai. I'm sure I butchered his pronunciation of his name. And I'm not knocking the guy at all. But I don't know, where is he a world-renowned evolutionist? Where was he on Time's Evolutionist of the Year, or did I miss it?
And in 2001, Maeve Leakey, that's Louis Leakey's daughter-in-law, found flat-faced man. Let's take a look at these two. So this is the oldest known human ancestor. This Harvard professor says the face and teeth resemble those of humans. Well, if you think that looks like a human, that's certainly your choice. It certainly looks like a gorilla to me.
To you, Russ. Yes, that's right. When you were getting your advanced degrees in primate anatomy from, fucking nowhere.
But when they found this in 2002, Nature magazine reported this is just an ancient ape. Science News reported the specimen's teeth are apes. It did not walk upright on two legs. They knew it was an ape when they found it. They wait 4 years and put it in the textbooks and tell your kids they have proof they evolved from apes.
Again with the quote mines, okay? So you're taking these. The fact of the matter is, the consensus on that skull is that nobody knows what it is. Okay? There are, at least that I have read papers on, 3 different opinions on it. One, that it's an ancestor of humanity, that it existed after the human-chimp split. Others say that it's a fossil from before the human-chimp split. Others say that it represents the gorilla lineage, that it's a fossil from before the human-chimp split, but separate from that lineage that led to humans and chimps. And I'm sure there's probably others that are taking a different opinion. Everybody studying that fossil agrees that we don't have enough evidence to support any position on it. Everybody's saying, await further discoveries. You took quotes from papers, from legitimate papers, from people's opinions on what they believe, ignoring the rest of it. Ignoring where they say, nobody was saying it is definitively an ape and we all agree. Nobody has ever said that.
What about flat-faced man? Well, Maeve Leakey and her friends found this. This skull about the size of a softball was crushed into about 50 pieces. They reconstructed it. Now, after they reconstructed it, they said the face is slightly flatter than a normal ape's face. Slightly flatter? If you took the skull of everyone in this room, they'd be different angles, right? Slightly flatter, and they reconstructed it, so it goes in the textbooks as the closest missing link. You know what the textbooks don't point out? Is that flat-faced man would have stood 2 feet tall. He was 2 feet tall. That's pure fraud and propaganda in the textbooks.
Sorry, this one slays me. This is really funny, because I actually had an email exchange with Russ over this claim. Kenyanthropus was 2 feet tall, right? That 60 centimeters. That's pretty small for a human ancestor. But there's a couple of parts about it that make me laugh. Let's see, where to even start. First of all, if for some weird reason a human ancestor was found that was 60 centimeters tall, it would be a shock to every biologist and scientist or anthropologist in the world, okay? But at the same time, very small species have become very large in an evolutionary short span of time. It would be unlikely, but at the same time, it doesn't prove anything. Russ is obsessed with the size thing with a lot of different things, either too big or too large, or too small. But this is what made me laugh. The skull of Kenyanthropus, the actual existing skull, is 15 centimeters tall. Okay. Now, it doesn't have a lower jaw. Really conservative, giving it the smallest possible jaw, puts the skull from chin to the top of the head at 20 centimeters. Okay? So you've got a 20 centimeter skull on top of a total 60 centimeter body. The whole thing being 60 centimeters. That would mean that its head was 1/3. A full third of its entire body size. Now, I'd like to just picture in your mind a little hominid stumbling around with a head that big and a body, well, frankly, only twice the height of its head. It would be pretty funny. It certainly is far more exaggerated than the large heads of babies or anything else that we've ever seen. It's pretty amazing thing to propose. But this is what's funny, is that when I mentioned it to Russ, he said that he read an article about the skull being the size of a softball, and he just figured with a softball-sized skull, the animal must have been 2 feet tall. But the article that he was quoting from Maeve Leakey was saying the brain was the size of a softball. This was a chimp-sized skull with a brain larger than a modern chimp's by a good degree, about the size of a softball. So he misread softball-sized brain case to softball-sized skull, and then from there made up his illustration of a 2 foot tall proposed hominid with a gigantic fucking head. It's a funny mental picture if you think about it.